This morning, we have all now resigned from the Labour Party. This has been a very difficult, painful, but necessary decision. From today, we will all sit in Parliament as a new independent group of MPs.
Hello, thanks for joining us this morning. Just in the last few minutes, the energy regulator Ofgem has announced a rise in the cap on energy prices. The cap will go up by 0.2%. Now, this affects how much you pay for your energy bills every month, and the change means that companies can keep bills stubbornly high.
Now, it's going to be disappointing news for many. Ofgem had been expected to cut the cap, but...
The Middle East is breaking Britain's economy, and nobody is talking about it loud enough. Right. Let's have a proper conversation. Because while most people are scrolling past headlines, something deeply consequential is unfolding. Something that reaches from the deserts of the Middle East straight into your kitchen, your fuel tank, and your heating bill. If you have never thought about how a missile strike in Tehran could affect the price of your weekly shop in Manchester, Birmingham, or Glasgow, stay with me, because by the end of this video, you absolutely will. Welcome to British Energy, the channel that cuts through the noise, holds the powerful to account, and keeps you informed on the politics and economics shaping British life. If you are new here, do yourself a favor, subscribe. It is free, it takes 2 seconds, and frankly, in times like these, you want a channel in your corner that does not talk down to you. Now, let us get into it. Since Israel and the United States launched a wave of airstrikes on Iran and Tehran retaliated, global markets have entered what can only be described as a state of controlled panic. The UK gas price surged to its highest level in 3 years this past Tuesday, having already jumped sharply the day before. Brent crude, the international oil benchmark, briefly climbed above $85 a barrel for the first time since July 2024. And on stock markets from London to Tokyo to Seoul, share prices plunged.
Madam Deputy Speaker, no ifs, no buts, no maybes, a clear promise, and a promise to victims of the press. And here we come along today, and we have the government saying...
It's freezing cold outside, and people are worried about their energy bills, yet on top of all the other costs he's lumped on people's bills, it's reported that he's about to tax people with gas boilers to pay for people with heat pumps. So can he definitively rule out for the rest of this Parliament no new taxes on people heating their homes?
I can absolutely rule out.
This is not background noise. This is a 5-alarm warning. Cast your mind back to February 2022, Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine. Remember what that did to energy prices? How your bills seemed to climb every quarter? How businesses struggled? How the government scrambled? How the cost of everything from bread to bus fares crept upward? That is the comparison investors and analysts are now reaching for, and they are not reaching for it lightly. Oil prices have not risen quite as sharply as gas prices, partly because there is more flexibility in sourcing crude from different parts of the world. But they are still meaningfully higher than they were at the end of last week, and the downstream effects are real.
Mary is a working mum of 4 from Stirlingshire. She says almost every penny she earns is spent on trying to keep her house warm.
Just getting up and going to work knowing it's going to go in a metre is so difficult. Anything for £30 to £50 a day. My TV doesn't even work, no tumble dryer, no hot tub at my back garden. That's just my normal boiler.
Scottish Power discovered a problem with Mary's boiler, but she's still waiting for a replacement. She's worried about how she'll cope in the months ahead. Just
dreading the cost going up so much because it's just going to get worse and worse. I've got over £2,000 in rent arrears. It's either feed my meter or pay my rent.
Mary is just one of thousands of households across the country concerned as household budgets face their biggest challenge yet. Tomorrow, the energy price cap will increase, meaning average bills will rise by almost £700, from £1,300 to almost £2,000 a year.
It's happening because the price of wholesale gas on the global market has been really high. The prices started to increase last year as a result of economies opening up around the world after the COVID pandemic, but it's been further exacerbated by things like the war in Ukraine.
42. Jean lives on her own in Glasgow on a state pension.
Over £390 for my gas and the same for my electricity, £390 as well. That's a big jump, sort of, and I'm worrying about it, you know.
And as for students like Povilas, higher bills are an additional stress on top of studies.
Higher oil prices feed through to motor fuel costs, to transport costs, to the price of getting goods from warehouses to supermarket shelves. Alastair Locke, the chairman of Motor Fuel Group, the United Kingdom's largest independent forecourt operator, was unambiguous. With oil prices rising, he said, higher prices at the pump are inevitable. The only variable is how high and how long. But there is a dimension to this story that goes beyond prices at the petrol station, and it is the one that genuinely alarms the serious economists: the Strait of Hormuz. This narrow stretch of water between Iran and the Arabian Peninsula is the jugular vein of global energy. Approximately 20% of the world's oil and gas passes through it, and right now, traffic through the strait has effectively halted. Vessels have been attacked. An advisor to the commander of Iran's Revolutionary Guard Corps told state television, quite directly, that ships should not come to this region, that they would face, in his words, a serious response. Sanne Manders, the president of logistics platform Flexport, told the BBC that the strait was, for all practical purposes, closed, not metaphorically, closed, partly because carriers are unwilling to take the risk, and partly because insurance companies are refusing to insure the risk at all. When insurers walk away from a shipping lane, it does not just affect that lane, it affects the cost of shipping everywhere because carriers will start pricing in higher fuel costs across all their routes globally. The cost of hiring a supertanker to move oil from the Middle East to China hit an all-time record on Monday, more than $400,000 per day. That is almost double what it cost the previous week, 1 week. This is how economic shocks travel, not in one dramatic moment, but in a cascade. Energy prices, shipping costs, insurance premiums, transport costs, food prices, inflation. And if inflation rises, central banks become more reluctant to cut interest rates, which means the relief that millions of mortgage holders and businesses have been waiting for, cheaper borrowing, gets pushed further into the future. The political implications are just as significant. Keir Starmer's government has staked a great deal on economic stability and falling inflation as evidence that its approach is working. An external energy shock of this magnitude, one driven not by domestic policy failure, but by geopolitical conflict, is precisely the kind of event that can unravel carefully constructed economic narratives. The OBR has already flagged it, the Chancellor will be watching it closely, and frankly, so should every British voter. Because here is the uncomfortable truth at the heart of all of this. Britain is not energy independent. We are deeply integrated into global energy markets. What happens in the Persian Gulf does not stay in the Persian Gulf. It travels through gas pipelines, shipping lanes, futures markets, and it arrives at your door, in your energy bill, at the petrol pump, on the price sticker at the supermarket. That is not a counsel of despair. It is simply reality. And understanding reality is the first step to demanding better from the people who are supposed to manage it on your behalf. Take a breath, stay informed. That is the most powerful thing you can do right now. We will continue tracking every development on this story, the energy markets, the political fallout, the decisions being made in Westminster, and what they mean for ordinary British households. If this kind of analysis matters to you, please subscribe to British Energy. It genuinely helps this channel grow, reach more people, and keep doing the work. Share this video with someone who needs to understand what is really happening. And come back, because this story is far from over, and neither are we.